Next we have the fifth kind of evaluation. Who will provide the labor? Now we have the land that is fixed. We know how much of the land is distributed between a small farmer, a medium farmer and a large farmer, and who exactly is providing the kind of work that is necessity for that particular land. So let us see. Small farmers, they can either, like I mentioned earlier, they can provide they can cultivate their own land, or they can go to the large farmers land and provide a certain labor work there. Unlike farmers, farm laborers do not have a right over the crops that are grown on the land, right? So they just do the work on that land and they leave. And for that kind of work that they give out on that land, they need to be paid some kind of cash or kind, because nothing is coming in for free here, right? So either they'll be paid in terms of crops, that is in kind, or they'll be paid in terms of cash. And the kind of money that's being given out is not uniform everywhere. I'm trying to tell you here that the farm laborers that work in a wheat farm in Punjab, the kind of cash that they're getting there is not the same as the kind of the cash that laborers are getting on working in a wheat farm back in Karnataka. They're not the same. It varies differently based on the kind of crop you're growing, based on the kind of farmer you're working for, and etc. And you also have a kind of variation in the duration of employment. Sometimes you will be employed for the whole season, sometimes you will be employed just for sowing the seeds, sometimes you will be employed just for harvesting that particular crop, right? So it depends. The kind of wage you get, the kind of cash that a laborer gets, depends on all these factors. Next, let us see the final one, that is the capital that is needed in farming. Like I mentioned earlier, physical capital is ultimately termed as capital for the convenience in this chapter. Most small farmers have to borrow money to arrange for the capital. Not like I've told you, small farmers have very small pieces of land. So small pieces of land meaning less kind of production. And what if the small farmer family has to sustain 5 people in their house, right? So do you think that small piece of land, whatever kind of crop that is growing, do you think that is sufficient? Many times it is not sufficient for all the 5 people to live. Hence, they get on to borrowing money. It can be from money lenders in the village itself, or it can be from banks. So they can either borrow money from the money lenders or traders who supply various inputs for cultivation. What exactly are inputs for cultivation? You have your fertilizers, pesticides, etc. And when the farmer buys from these money lenders, the rate of interest is very high. So what exactly is rate of interest on such loans? So suppose I am a small farmer and I need to borrow some money. I go to a money lender right next to my house. So I ask him, please can you give me certain amount of money as, suppose let us consider it as 10,000 rupees. Can you give me 10,000 as a loan? The money lender will give me 10,000, but I have to give him little amount of money back every month, or every 3 months, or every 4 months, based on the kind of agreement I have with the money lender. And that rate of interest is very high. Suppose it can be around 10% of 10,000. Usually banks that are formal lenders, they charge very low, right? They charge 0.1% sometimes, but money lenders charge a very high rate, that is around, so sometimes it goes around to 10% of 10,000. So every month you have to give 10% of 10,000 back to the money lender. So hence, when you have to pay that kind of percentage back to the money lender, it's not always possible because the farmer is under great distress. So this is the case scenario as to what small farmers go through. What exactly do medium and large farmers go through? So medium and large farmers, like I've said, they have more than 2 hectares of land, right? So under 2 hectares of land, you have greater amount of production. Ultimately, the harvest is good, and you have greater kind of returns after selling it in the market. So you can save certain amount for yourself, and you can give out the rest for the livelihood of your family members. So that kind of savings, they can use it to buy the inputs, that is seeds or fertilizers or pesticides. They don't have to depend on a bank or a money lender in their scenario. Next, we have the sale of surplus farm products. So let us take a case scenario here. Farmers have produced wheat on their lands. The wheat is finally harvested, it's complete, you have the wheat in hand, and the production process is complete. What do the farmers do with this wheat? Where do they go? So first case scenario we see here is the small farmers. So where do they go? Small farmers, like I've said, small piece of land, hence little surplus, and whatever they have little surplus because the land is small. A majority of whatever is produced, suppose for a family of 5, will go for that 5 people's consumption. So very little is there for them to go to the market and sell, right? So ultimately they don't make a big amount of money from it. So the medium and large farmers, they have greater pieces of land, it's greater production, and if they are a family of 5, they first see how much the 5 people can consume, and the surplus that is left, which is a greater amount when you compare it to small farmers, they go and sell that to the market. The traders at the market traders, they buy that wheat and they go to different kind of towns and cities and sell it to shopkeepers. So what exactly these medium and large farmers do is that the money that they get out of this kind of selling it in the market, they use it for the next production cycle of wheat. Okay, so the next year that they're producing wheat, they will use that kind of a profit to buy the inputs. So this becomes an ultimate cycle, and they're not borrowing any kind of money from anywhere. So now let's get on to the different kind of non-farm activities in this particular village called Palampur. So what are the activities that do not involve any kind of farming? First is dairy. Dairy is the second most common activity you have in this village. What exactly is dairy? Milk and milk products. So like I mentioned earlier, you have buffaloes and cows. These are fed with the jowar and bajra, that are the rain fed crops that are grown. And ultimately milk is produced, and milk goes from village to village as production increases. Next we have a small scale manufacturing, that is in Palampur. So small scale manufacturing means those kind of industries that are very small, which employs small numbers of people, and the production, the kind of methodological production is very simple. It is not involving big machinery as such, but it has like small machines and small production methods. Usually these small manufacturing are carried out by the entire family itself. They don't really require labor from outside. Next we have the shopkeepers that you and I see on a daily basis. So like I've said, the traders, right, at that village Palampur, so they are the shopkeepers. So what do? They buy various goods from wholesale markets in the cities and finally sell them in the village. Like I've told you, you'll have small general stores around you itself that are like selling toothpaste, stationery items, batteries, notebooks, pen, and etc. Then we have another important sector, that is the transport sector. And you should remember, transport sector is a very fast developing sector. So you can see transport as to autos, tractors, truck drivers, and people driving the traditional bullocks. So they are all those that are involved in the transport services. You are moving the good from one place to another, right? So suppose I live in the village Palampur and I want to go to another nearby village which is around 25 kilometers, that is Raniganj, right? So how and I can afford that kind of transport. So how do I go? And that person I want to meet in Raniganj wants to buy cotton from me. So I will take that with me. I will take a rickshaw wala or a tonga wala. I will call him and say, here, please take me to Raniganj, and I will pay you the kind of money for the service that you've given me today. So this is exactly how it works. And over the years, over many 50 years or so, the transport sector is improving.